Hello there, my name's Mark, and these are my dice tales, and I just wanted to sort of share how I played the last two videos. So I created a little system called Solo or Skirmish Oracle Delve Adventure, and its aim was to make any skirmish game into a dungeon crawl and give you lots of prompts and skill challenges and a very, very simple oracle. So I had a brief look at other solo tabletop RPGs. So Scarlet Heroes looks very promising. I'd like to pick that up one day. Um, Iron Sworn, basic fantasy. People say they play that solo, and I was watching people do solo RPGs, but it didn't quite fit what I wanted. I wanted it to be more like a skirmish game that you set up. You don't need to do the whole tavern and roleplay bit. You're literally going to know that there's the reason that you're going to a dungeon. A bit like when you roll, you're doing a versus fight, or you're doing a grab the treasure fight in a skirmish game, or you're doing a cross the table fight. One faction trying to stop one and another. I know there's a dungeon going on. I need a reason and a story behind it. What's the quickest way I can come up with flavor for it? So, and I watched these videos about 5 room dungeon. I thought that's great. It's a small. I only want a small session really, and I watched how to make combat interesting, basically. So then I came up with this. So I've came up with a system that has lots of tables that will generate ideas for you. Basically, you have 3 decks. You have a dungeon deck, which is just going to say, small room, large room, corridor, chasm, forest to pillars. I like that one. I feel that's quite a nice description one. Where you've got, it might be a mushroom forest if you've got the terrain for that. It might be, you don't have to be in a dungeon really. You could be outside. It could literally be lots of tall pillars. It could be a bit like this, maybe have a few more pillars for cover. It could be statues from Medusa. It could be just tall. Maybe you're in a temple and it's just tall elven or dwarven crafted pillars. The next deck is what you're going to fight. So it's basically giving you almost like a challenge rating. It's a small fight, it's a medium fight, it's a large fight, it's the boss fight, or you found a treasure, so draw another card, or it's a boss fight and you draw another card, and then it's going to be the boss with a small entourage, a medium entourage, a large entourage. Simple as that. And treasure. I did want more treasure than just the treasure room, than finding the main treasure of the dungeon. So this is like your scattered treasure. So it can be, you can find weapons and armor. You can find something that's useful, which might be like a lockpick or a crowbar, rope. Something, your general money, gems, arts, stash of coins, consumables. So it's going to be food or a potion, or maybe a one-use weapon or a reluck token, a lucky token. And that's it, pretty much. So yeah, but it also went into a bit more. So there are 2 tables. If you do go follow the link and download it, there are 2 pages. The first one sort of gives you a description on how to use everything and a bit of prep work. And if your system that you're using is like Sword Weirdos, or let's say the Night Watch, which doesn't have a skill system, just give your heroes 4 skills and then assign those skills. Have a pool of 2d6, a d8, and a d10, and give. So 2 of the skills will get a d6. One of the skills will get a d8, so you're going to be better at that, and one of the skills will get a d10. And generally, is the rule of thumb is if you're doing something that requires a skill check. So say I'm going to say my barbarian is quite athletic, so I might have given him the 10 in athletics. If he needs to do something like climbing or acrobatics or swimming, he'll roll a d10. I just got a 1, so I've just failed that one. And he would, if this was Sword Widows, you'd probably be rolling 2 dice. If it was the Todroff universe, you'd definitely be rolling 2 dice. If you got over 4, you pass. Simple as that. In Savage Worlds, you'll be rolling your d10 and a d6. So generally, that's what I've found. I've played it with Savage Worlds. I have played it with Sword Weirdos, and I have played it with the Todroff d8, d10, d6 rule. And it's worked with all 3. But I am going to be pursuing Savage Worlds in future videos. So yeah, and after you've chosen the reason. After you've assigned skills to your heroes, roll the reason that you're at the gates of this dungeon, what you're there for. So is it going to be an escort mission? You're escorting someone or something. Are you going to find something and bring it back and escape? Are you going to just kill a boss and escape? And then have some RPG prep thoughts. Think of you being the DM and what your players are going to encounter. So think of who the boss is. Maybe you can foreshadow it in the rooms as you go ahead. If you've got a boss dragon, you might sort of say, oh, you can see scorch marks or charred bones. If it's a troll, then it might be gnawed bones. If it's a goblin chief, there might be sacrificial humans strung up to scare the living daylights out of you, things like that. Think of the treasure that you're going to get, the reward to make you go into this dungeon. Think of the reason no one has attacked this dungeon before. That's a good one. That really gives you a bit of story. So is it hidden that no one's ever found it before? Has it got a terrible guardian? That's why no one's gone into it before. Is it trapped, or is it there's a special ritual that needs to be passed to get through the front door? There's a couple more ideas. Also, then it goes on to think of factions. There's just a couple of things to think of. What's going to be inside the dungeon? For charisma checks to happen in a dungeon, you really need factions. Two sides fighting against each other. So maybe there's an evil force that have moved in. Maybe there's an evil clerics and they've taken over. And maybe the goblins in there despise these evil clerics. Some of them are working with them because they're gaining rank and prestige by working with them. But others think that these clerics are bad news for the tribe and want to oust them. Dark elves with slave dwarves, slave rats, slave orcs, things like that. Think of wandering monsters. Is it going to be patrols from the dungeon? Have the clerics and the dwarves set up patrols? Or is it just random monsters like there's a cave bear sleeping in the corner, a nest of ants or oozes and trap-like creatures from the Underdark like that? And think of your feature room. So you can either sort of kill a boss or find the exit and find the treasure. Also have a feature room. So if you're going into a temple, maybe is it a cultist temple? Is it going to have like a mighty dragon statue in the main room? So there'll be lots of wings and claws to hide behind. Is it a balcony chamber? Is it a sacrificial altar? Is it the dwarves' throne room, or the goblins' rickety rock-strewn throne room? Things like that. The rest of this page goes on to say this is what the cards to put in your dungeon deck. This is the cards to put in the encounter deck and the treasure deck. And then it says how it's going to work. So literally draw a dungeon card, a large room, see how many exits there are. So roll on the doors table. Roll on the challenge table. So this is where we get into this is the one-page dashboard. I just wanted, rather than flipping back between pages and figuring out what the monster is, what the challenge is, looking at all sorts of things, this is just really prompts. So my challenge table, this is probably the most used table, is going to tell you that when you're in this large room, to proceed or to gain a treasure or some sort of bonus, you're going to have to do something here. So you're either going to need to make one of those 4 skill checks: athletics, investigation, stealth, or charisma. That could have easily been written as strength, dex, and charisma. Intelligence. Or is it just going to be a straight up fight? So they just go back to sword where just kick the door and kill the monsters, move on. So if you got rolling athletics check is needed in this room, you think, well, why would I need athletics? I mean, first one that comes to mind is there's a river or a lake you swim across. That's endurance. That's something to do with the body, athletics. But I could roll on this table here and that'll give me something to do. So let's take a D8, for example, and do a quick demonstration. I've rolled a 4. So that is fix something. I've never used athletics to fix something. That to me says I'm going to do some heavy lifting. I'm thinking of like railway work when they really slam the hammers. I'm thinking about pushing a statue back into place so it's in its rightful place. Or those tropes where there's a light coming through and you need to angle the mirror to get the magic to go off. So you can direct it was Lord of the Rings recently. They had light coming in from the mountain and they shone light all around the dungeon, didn't they? So if you don't do that, all the rooms will be in darkness and give you negative modifiers. If you do use your athletics and move this mirror, then you'll have the dungeon is lit up. If you didn't know what it was going to do, there's a table for it. Are you going to gain advantage or disadvantage for the rest of the dungeon? That was the perfect example. You're going to light up the dungeon, or you're going to be left in darkness. Maybe you break the mirror if you fail the test, so you only get partial darkness. You might gain or lose health. If you do not do this thing, it's almost like a trap that something is going to damage you. Or gain a treasure or miss out on a treasure. So maybe if I put the gem back in the statue's eye socket and I pass my athletics check with more than enough, then the statue unlocks and grants me a magic item which I can draw from the treasure deck. If you're not sure, you gain advantage on, maybe you gain advantage on opening the doors, maybe you gain advantage on future hazards, and such like that. The next bit is, so we've done what's going on and what the challenge is and what the benefits or the consequences of doing the challenge is. So maybe it's a side quest and I don't need to do it. Maybe it is what I need to do to get through the next door. I actually had that on if you roll a 6, then it's a puzzle door, so you can use one of these to try and figure out what you need to do with a puzzle. And again, you could roll on this challenge table. It might say fine, so I might scatter a few objective tokens around, and it'd be, I need to go and turn over these objective tokens. I find the right one, I can take it to the door to open it. And there's a few other ideas, as well as the fix the break, etc. The last one is, what am I encountering? So I draw an encounter card. This one says it's small force. So I would roll on my encounter table. Now, I always think there should be 3 things, because that's not too many that will break your brain into thinking there's too many rules. And I've broken that down into 7 foe types. And I also introduced traps and hazards here. And the reason I introduced traps and hazards here, because I want the enemies who live in the dungeon to have been here way before the adventurers to have full advantage of the terrain. It's not just random lava I'm dropping down. It's potentially barriers. They've set up barriers. They've set up traps. And they know how to use it and avoid it, whereas the heroes don't. And I thought it made more sense in here. So let's roll up a test. So D10, I've got a 1. There's going to be a trap in here. I've got a 9. There's going to be a spellcaster in here. And a 10, a leader. So at least 2 units. I've done a little sort of costing. So 30 points. A leader costs about 17 points-ish. A caster costs about 14 points-ish. I mean, you can really play with that. That is just the roughest of guidelines, really depending on your game. So that's, yeah, leader and boss, a caster and a boss, a leader and a caster, and a trap. So they're going to know what the trap is. If I don't know what the trap is, I can roll on a trap table down here, which will tell me, is it a magic trap? Is it just a trap that does direct damage? And I can think of, is it a complex trap or is it a simple trap? And then I've got all these prompts tables. So yeah, and one of my favorite tables is also this goal table. So I can give goals to my heroes. I can give goals to the denizens of the dungeon. Why are they in the dungeon? I've rolled a 10. Power. Okay, maybe there's a oh God, it's warpstone, isn't it? You know, they are mining for something powerful. That's why they're here. Maybe there's a crystal or a gem that will make them more powerful if they get it. Another example, 3, restore. So maybe they're looking to restore a dead god, for instance. And that's nuts and bolts. So you can download this off the link below. It's Ko-fi. It is a pay what you want, just in case there's any generous souls out there. And that's it. I think, so I'll tell you what I rolled up. I rolled up that I think I'm going Pathfinder, as I say, my next game. And just to see what a true role-playing game is like. So I'm going to be skipping the 4 skills bit, because this game has all the skills in it. But generally they're going to fall into, I can still use the challenge table, because I'll have athletics type skills, I'll have intelligence skills and stealth and precision skills, and definitely charisma skills. I might be a bit more loose with the rules, because I don't like charisma, where they separate persuasion and intimidation. I think that should all just be one category, especially for solos. So you don't have to think about, am I persuading? Am I bluffing? It should just be, I'm talking to someone and I want to get my way. I can either do it angrily or I can do it nicely or lie. So might be changes like that. But yes, so I rolled up a escort mission. And there's a little oracle here as well. Yes, no, maybe, likely, major change to whatever you were thinking. So I rolled up an escort mission. I asked, am I escorting people to the oracle? And it said no. So I asked, so then I thought, okay, let's think of, if I'm not escorting people, why do I need to get this somewhere? So I rolled on my goals table and it said harm. So I'm going to escort something to harm. And that was quite a noggin bender right there. But I thought of, and I asked it again, just give me another prompt. And it said avenge. So I started to think of other stories and inspirations from books I've read, like The Ninth Reign recently. Absolutely fantastic book. It's about like elves and aliens and humans, and it's really bizarre and strange war beasts. But there's some harm. I don't want to go into that story really, but there was definitely harm and avenging going on with the elves' home tree. The Netflix, the Dragon Prince, where the evil mages have the dragon egg and they want to corrupt it, so it'll be harming something. So maybe carrying the dragon egg through this temple, and when I get it there, it will harm the egg. Oh gosh, Dragonlance, how they harm the dragon eggs and birth the draconians. I could be evil. I could be evil mercenaries, and maybe that isn't the job. That's what we're being hired for. But I went down a more peaceful routes. The first thing that actually came to mind is that, again, probably Netflix inspired. The Dragon Prince, they had like a prison for one of the main evil characters, and he was trying to escape it by manipulating the dark wizards. So I thought, oh yes, right, I'll have elves go to a temple, and then there to put things right. So I asked, is it a temple I'm going to? And my oracle said yes, but it's bad. So I thought, oh, right, why is it bad? So I thought, okay, what can be bad? It's going to be an old crumbling temple, and the chaos forces are corrupting it. The darkness, the prison. Is it a prison? And it said yes. So I'm going there to harm something that's going to be trapped in the prison. So maybe I now got a chance to kill the thing that we trapped many years ago. So I started thinking about those preparatory thoughts. So who's the boss? What's the treasure? What's the reason it's not been looted before? Who are the factions? So I determined that it's a temple. The boss, I think, is going to be like a trapped dark elf, maybe a dragon. I don't know yet. Let's go with dark elf for now. And we need to escort this artifact to this room, which will restore all the magic. I think I asked on the oracle, what was this artifact? And it came up with magical health. So if I restore the heart of this dungeon, it'll pure away all the vile chaos and bring back prosperity to the elves. So we've got the good elves, we've got the dark elves, and that's the reason that we're doing a ritual. And another faction. So I thought, if this is an old and it's a bad temple, maybe we've forgotten the lore, and now there are sort of two elfish factions that have two ideas of what needs to go on in this temple. So one, maybe we need to install the artifact and it's going to like wire up and power up everything and it's all going to be good. The other one might think that's a terrible idea and we need to get the artifact into the room and destroy it, and that will purge the chaos from the area. That is going to be the story that's going to unravel in my next video, I hope. So what I rolled up, I did get a large room, but I picked a safe encounter. One of these says safe, so I actually don't have to fight anything, and I can focus purely on the roleplay challenges. And I rolled up that it was a multi-challenge and I needed to investigate and be charismatic. So that put in my mind the never-ending story when Atreyu faces the Sphinxes and needs to be a true of heart to get past. Otherwise, and again, the benefit or consequences, I rolled that I would be harmed in the attempt. So I devised that I'm in sort of a grand entrance chamber with two heroic statues from the past, and I need to go and sort of investigate my soul and myself, and then say a prayer to these statues and see if I get the blessing to continue into the dungeon, or whether they scold me and damage me in some way, giving me a disadvantage going into the dungeon. But I also watched another video just before starting that session, and I rolled. It said about having multiple dungeons, so I thought, right, keep this as roleplay as possible. Are there multiple entrances? Often players, when they see something, they want to scout around and say, how do I get in? So I said, I asked the Oracle, is there another entrance? And it said, major shift. So now that I had the story of the factions and there's possibly two thoughts of going into this dungeon and the chaos corruption, before I even got into the room to confront these statues and cleanse myself, I had either the chaos or the temple does a cataclysmic shift, and the next room I drew was a chasm. So I had an earthquake, I had us all shift, and I went through the process again. I rolled on a challenge, I rolled what it was and what the outcome was, and I drew an enemy force, and then used all these prompts to come up with ideas. And what it came up with is I needed to obtain a treasure. Now, I already had a treasure because I'm carrying this artifact into the dungeon. I'm escorting it. So I assumed that during the earthquake, I lost the treasure. So think back to Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade when she drops the grail during the earthquake, and it goes down into the fissures. So I now thought, well, I've got two ways. I can either slide down into the fissures and maybe go an underdark way and find a way into the temple that way, or I can retrieve the artifact and climb myself back up and go back to the cleansing room at the top of this chasm. And that's the idea. And I think I asked the Oracle, are my heroes safe? And it said no. So I put one of them prone, slipping into the ravine. So then it's all going to be based off initiative, whether he has to save himself, whether the enemies are going to attack him while he's prone, whether the other hero can go and drop a rope or raise an arm and pull him up. And then if I can actually obtain the artifact which I've dropped. And I think I put another treasure in here as well as something that I might want to pick up as a side. And that's going to be the story that I'm going to play out in the next video. So we've got a hero, a barbarian I'm going to call Tarn, an archer who I'm going to call Sasha. I was going to go for mage, but I didn't want to introduce too many Pathfinder rules on my first mission. Yeah, I'll leave it there. So if you're interested, and if that makes any sense to you at all, this is Soda, and you can download it on my Coffee. You can pay what you want. If you're generous, happy days. If you're not, check it out. And as I say, it was aimed to give War Cry, When Nightmares Come, Sword Widows, prompts and an oracle to narrate a bit of a story for you. So if you ever get bored of a game and you're just kicking down doors and killing things, what would adding a bit of a skill challenge in there do? And how would your little brain ignite? What ideas would you steal from your pop culture and your movies and your books that you read? So yeah, so hopefully see you on the next video playing Savage Worlds and doing this chasm encounter. I'll leave it there. So Mark's Dice Tales signing off. Hope everything's well. Have a good one. Goodbye.